I ask people all the time about what comes to your mind when you think about a misfit. And I hear a lot of good things like unique, but I also hear things like an oddball, doesn't get promoted, not successful, someone who vandalizes, carjacks, skips out on the check, nerdier nerds before nerding was cool, and then equates it to a criminal. How many of you are this? We have a problem. And the misfit in our world, that's the one that was bullied in school. That's the one that was picked last for a sports team, or one that didn't get the opportunities of being hired or get promoted because they're always not the culture fit. They're always the person that is going to be different. And naturally, as humanity, we tend to like people that are similar to us. And whenever somebody is different, whether we know it or we don't, we end up pushing them away. So I went online and I Googled the definition of a misfit. Because when I think of a misfit, is the person who's different, who's bringing unique perspective, somebody who's challenging the norm and making our world better. And here's the definition. A person whose behavior or attitude set them apart from others in an uncomfortably conspicuous way. So they're standing out and it's going to be so uncomfortable. I feel I need to go and change that definition. When you think about a misfit, what about you? Obviously, the fact that you are here, that by itself tells me that you are a misfit, or you have a misfit in your life that you want to make sure that you are helping them to liberate and to continue to thrive. But what comes to your mind, and how are you a misfit? How does it make you feel? So now when you think about any movie you like, did you ever watch a movie where the main character is normal, does everything right, dresses right, speaks right, does everything according to what the culture accepts? How many of you watch a movie like that? It would be so boring. I would most likely turn it off the first 10 minutes. These are not the movies we tend to like. We like the ones that are rebels, that are so different, that we get to learn from their journey and we get inspired by them and we want the victory for them. Even whenever we're thinking about leadership. When was the last time where you heard that a leader obeyed all the rules, never questioned anything that they were told, and tried as hard as they could to fit in with whatever is accepted around them? That usually is not a leader or somebody who's driving a big change. So somehow we tend to admire these people that are different, that we live through their journey and their experiences. We want them to get on the main stage and we want to hear from them about how they conquered the limitations and believed in themselves and achieved these wonderful, amazing things. We want these things. But as if there's two forces that are pulling us in two different directions. This is the first force, the inspiration, the admiration for these things. But the second one is where we all come from. So like with the Stone Age, humans learn to stay together. We learn to do things the same way, to conform, because there was safety in the numbers. There power in the numbers. So whenever you're part of a tribe, you're going to most likely be safer than somebody who's not. And if somebody doesn't conform, somebody who rebels whatever the tribe is demanding, they're going to be kicked out. So it becomes either you conform or die. And the interesting thing, even though the Stone Age was long time ago, as if as humans we kept inheriting these messages that we need to stay, accept, conform, and that's going to give us safety. So before I started my business, and that was over 9 years ago, I used to work for a global company. And I was very fortunate that over the years, as I worked for them, I continued to advance to a point I became a manager of a global team, a group of engineers that are responsible for engineering parts that we were moving around the world. So if your example, a machine that you have breaks, My team would be responsible to make sure it's fixed from the moment you call them until you receive your machine back. And just a little side note, I was the only woman in that team. I was one of the very few engineers. I don't like engineering. I don't like project management. I don't like processes, but I was responsible for all of that. And I remember Sunday afternoon, as it turns noon, I would start crying every single week. And Monday morning, I'm like, what am I doing? I just totally didn't fit in. It's not that the environment was toxic. It's not. That what happened to me, I just felt that there's just something wrong with me. Why am I the only person not enjoying Six Sigma? Why am I the only one not getting a certificate to become a project manager, certified person? And I constantly kept blaming myself that there's just something wrong with me. Until one day, it was Sunday night, and I Googled online to find if I can find an executive coach, somebody who's going to help me update my resume so I can run away as fast as possible. And I found somebody, I emailed her, and we ended up meeting on Monday. As I was talking to her, I said, I need you to update my resume. I just hate that place. It's just so wrong. I question myself all the time. What's wrong with me? And she said, sure, we're going to do all of that. We'll update your resume. But first, I want you to answer these questions. What do you bring to work that others don't have? How do you differentiate yourself? What are you known for? So at that time, I was in my mid-30s. I have everything that the culture taught me and programmed me to believe I need to do in order to be successful. I had my bachelor's and my master's. I was managing a global team. I was doing all of these things that externally to the world, it represents success. But when she asked me these 3 questions, I totally paused. I couldn't answer any of them. And I went home and I cried all night. And that's a good thing, because that was the first time I realized that I really don't even know who I am.